Hi guys, it's Paul from International Scale Modeller. Welcome to part 2 of our paint guide. Part 1 we covered primers and acrylics. In part 2 we're going to cover metallizer paints, clear coats, thinners, cleaners, what have you. So we'll get started straight away and we'll get going with the metallizer paints. Okay, more specialist paint now. Onto your metal type effect paints. So if you're doing like a P47 Thunderbolt, P51 Mustang, or as a base coat for a plane you're going to do chipping on, what have you, you can lay these down after using a suitable primer, and these give you a good base for weathering, or if you're just trying to do an MFF finish plane. So various different types, different manufacturers, different chemicals used. So again, be aware of what they are. You got Citadels. They've actually changed these colours now. They've got different names. When I put this video up, I will put the new name for this one, which is it's Mithril Silver, the old colour. There is a new version of it now. This and the chainmail colour, fantastic for P51s, Mustangs, Thunderbolts, etc. It's acrylic based. I think I remember right, it is water based. It's a very, very fine pigment paint. Quite thin. And it gives an absolutely superb finish as an MFF finish. Used it many times, really do like it. If you want to keep away from smelly stuff, that's the way to go. I don't tend to use it as much anymore because I fell in love with Alclads, but it's there as an option for anybody to use. It is very good and it does give a very good finish. Next up, Mr. Hobby's Mr. Metal Colour. These are the buffable paints, so spray these on. Leave them to dry, get yourself a cloth, use your finger, what have you. You can come across, buff it, and it actually shines up the surface you're buffing. So fantastic on engines, exhaust, things like that, because it gives a worn look or a used look to something to make it look like it's actually more real. I bought these originally to use as an MFF finish on planes. I used it on a Hasegawa plane, absolutely destroyed the model because when it comes to masking off the anti-glare strip, taking the masking off was pulling the paint off. Even after using a clear coat on it, it was still taking it off. So for me, I'll be steering clear of these on large models. I might try it again at some point, but for now I'm not. And I'm using them for engines, working parts, etc, etc. Spray the whole model, multitude of colours, copper, all the different aluminiums, etc. Dark iron's a very good colour used on the F22 I did for E-models. But for me, smaller parts only, buff them, make them look used, absolutely fantastic. It's 50% dearer than most modelling paints. It's £3 a bottle as opposed to roughly between £1.50 and £2 for the others, so it's not cheap. It's not thinnable either, it's straight out of the bottle, so you use a lot, and you do use a lot on the model, so bear that in mind. But it's very good, does have its uses. I think there's about 10 colours in total, so again, you've got a couple of paints, different uses. One admit, there's about 10 of these in the Model Air range. I haven't used any of them yet because everything I've heard about them tells me they're absolutely shocking. I will use them one day as a tester. I may do a comparison test, work through all different paints, show how they go down and everything. But for me, it's one I haven't used because I just heard terrible things about them, reacting with clears and what have you, going down very bitty and gritty. So can't really comment. I've got it, but from what I hear, not the best. Are my favourites now. Alclad. These are all acrylic. I think these have got a bit of cellulose in them. These are totally cellulose based. They absolutely reek. But for me, no better metal finish at all. Very thin paint. Ridiculously thin, just like water. But second to none finish on metalwork. All different colours. Chrome, polished chrome. They do a really high shine chrome down to copper, jet exhaust, a whole myriad of colours they do. I've got about 15 of them so far and I've still got another 10 to go. Absolutely superb, cannot recommend these enough. A lot of people again scared of them because of what they are. They're really easy to use, and one of my next videos I'll do a guide on spraying these. I'll probably buy something like another Mustang. I've just built Airfix's little 172. I'll probably buy one of those again, build it, and as I'm building it, do step-by-step guides for different bits, from filling, masking, etc, priming, through to these. Again, But for these, you do need to use the Alclad primers to give the best effect, and you've got to pay attention to your preparation to the bodywork as well to make sure you get the best effect possible. Absolutely superb. I think they're about £5 a bottle. They're not cheap at all, but it lasts a long time. Absolute nightmare if you spill the bottle because it's thin. It goes everywhere, absolutely everywhere. Clean up in your airbrush, nice and easy. As is with all these, acrylic base, cellulose base, so you need different thinners, different cleaners, etc. But a little bit of cellulose for your airbrush, get rid of it. Don't bother with Alclad's own airbrush cleaner, it's a rip-off. It's just cellulose thinner in a can. They charge you about £5 for. You go on eBay, you can get 5 litres of cellulose thinner for £12 delivered in the UK. So bear that in mind, definitely. But that's my favourite by far metal finish. Right, okay. Last part now, before we get into the thinners and what have you. Clear coats, essential for various different reasons, more so protecting your paintwork and your decals. Can also be used in preparation for decals as well. But I always put a coat down before decaling and after to allow the decals to go down better, no silvering, and obviously protect everything at the end. Because you can come out 6 months time, dust your model, nothing gets touched, everything's fine. All different manufacturers, different types, acrylic, 2-pack, cellulose based, what have you. Some are better than others, some are used all the time, some are very rarely used, depends on the situation. So we'll start left to right as normal. So Alclad's Clear Coat Gloss, you can see I've used nearly half a bottle. Love this stuff, especially on MFF finishes, absolutely superb. Sprays very easily. Again, cellulose based, you need to be in a well ventilated room with a face mask, or more importantly have an air vent extractor like I've got. Absolutely superb. Follow the instructions again, 15 to 20 psi. A light coat, let it mist over, dry, and then come back another one, and then come back with a thicker coat. It gives that real nice glossy finish. Again, you just seen it on that Mustang I had before. That was finished in this. Absolutely superb. Can't recommend it enough. I'm a big fan of Alclad's, as you can probably tell. Exact same stuff, but as you can see, there's a medium in the bottom. Give it a shake up, and you've got a misty mess. Give it another shake again, and that's your matte finish. So exactly the same stuff, just with a matte medium in it. So ideal for doing aircraft you don't want to shine on, or armour, anything like that at all. Sprays exactly the same. Smells a little different because of what's in it, but again, cellulose based, you've got to be careful where you're spraying it. Make sure you're not sat in your living room with your family, pets, what have you, because everyone will be high as a kite, and it's really not good for your health, as the various warning symbols on the side tell you as well. Very, very good. Really can't fault it again. Bit more of a specialist one now. Again, Hero Boys Zero Paints. This is a pre-thin clear coat. Cellulose based, very similar to this, a little bit different though. Used it a couple of times, yeah, it's okay, not bad at all. One thing I don't like, glass bottle, drop that, it's everywhere, smashed. At least these are plastic, which I do prefer. But again, it's more orientated towards vehicles. I haven't tried this one on a vehicle, if I'm honest. I have tried it on, I can't remember I tried it on, I did try it on something, yeah, it's okay, does the job. But I prefer Alclad's personally. One I have used and I was very impressed with, I did a little 1/24 scale Tamiya Mini a couple of months ago. 2-pack clear coat, exactly the same as what car bodies used to be sprayed with. I think it's illegal now if I remember right. All car paints are water based now. So 2-pack, this stuff is unbelievably poisonous to humans, animals and what have you. So you got your clear coat, the hardener, and the thinner, and if I remember right, they're all mixed. Yeah, all mixed together, various ratios, to form a clear coat, which is absolutely superb. The shine you get off it is phenomenal. If the Mini's behind me, I'll grab it, which it is somewhere. There it is. Might be a bit dusty. There she is there. A little bit dusty at the minute, but I can get a bit of light. There you go. You can look on the bonnet, you can see the shine that produces. Absolutely superb. It's probably the highest gloss shine I've seen. I'm not brilliant at vehicles, I admit that, and on this one, just my thumb is, I dropped a drop of super glue. Absolutely gutted. but on the Mini gave a very nice clear coat on top of the Tamiya red. Absolutely superb. So another paint well worth using and trying. I can't remember the price, I think it's about 13 quid. It's not cheap at all, but you can see the shine it gives. So it's worth a try if you're, budding vehicle builder and what have you. I've got it, I've used it once. The only thing I will say is it's an absolute bugger to get out your airbrush. You have to use the thinner, and it's still left remnants behind that went into like a thick gooey mush. If you left it in your airbrush, it'd destroy your airbrush and end up having to throw it away more than likely. But it has its uses. But obviously with that you really do need a booth or to be spraying outside, because that'll kill anything and everything, really lethal stuff, hence why it's banned, if I remember correctly, for use on car vehicles now. Bit more of a safer finish is a Vallejo's finishes, acrylic based, water based, to do a matte, a gloss and a satin. Not impressed by the gloss, used it a couple of times, it leaves quite an orange peely effect. I've tried spraying it all different ways, every way it recommends, can't get it to stop doing it, do not like using it at all. Satin varnish sprays lovely, leaves a really nice satin semi-gloss finish behind, as does the matte. One thing to remember these, especially matte finishes, there's a medium in here, I think a lot of the time it's talc, especially in stuff like this, that gives the matte effect. You've really got to shake it up to mix it, otherwise it doesn't go matte, you end up with a satin finish. But very good paint. What I started using originally, superseded for me now by the Alclad, but still there as an option if I don't want to use something that stinks. Really good stuff. Not too impressed by the gloss version, but that's just me. Maybe other people have had experiences they prefer, but for me, stay clear of the gloss, but the other two, absolutely superb. There's also the old favourite, which is Johnson's floor polish, or clear. My bottle's in the cupboard, I didn't get it out, I completely forgot. It's a bottle yay high, I think it's about 350ml, could be half a litre actually lying. It did disappear, changed names quite a while in the UK, and came back as Future floor polish, I believe, over in the States and over here, can't remember now. I decant into a little bottle and I use that. I don't use it for my overall airbrush finishes because it doesn't airbrush too well at all. I use it normally as a pre-varnish for decaling because it's nice, simple, nice and quick, smells fantastic, although you probably shouldn't be smelling it or breathing it in, but I do. Not too impressed as a sprayable gloss finish, but if you brush paint it on, it does come into its own. It takes about 5-6 coats and you do get a nice glossy deep shine on it. For me, I prefer to use the Alclad for my own reasons. It's a little bit quicker, a little bit less fuss. In my eyes, unless you completely cover a model, once you brush paint it, you're going to attract dust, dirt, everything onto it. You've also got to make sure it doesn't pull if you brush paint it on. So it's good stuff, but I don't like to use it for every single gloss finish I do. For me, again, Alclad's win, hands down. Okay, so various different thinners now. Again, different manufacturers, different uses. Some I use all the time, some I hardly ever use, some I don't use at all. We'll start right to left this time. You got Humbrol enamel thinners. Small bottle, can't remember the price of it, it's going to be about £2-3 easily, for about 50ml, is it? 28ml, not even that much. White Spirit does exactly the same job, and you get a full bottle of that for about £2 for about half a litre. So that's just a small bottle I keep to one side. I've got a big bottle of White Spirit in the cupboard, and a decanted 200ml bottle there which I use, but I use that for cleaning brushes, because just put the lid off, put the brush in, what have you. So that's that one. For all your Revel, Tamiya and Humbrol enamels, that's what you use to thin them, but I use White Spirit as well. We've got Vallejo's own thinner, so you can use this on the Model Air if you want, a model colour. I prefer to use Tamiya X28 on the Model Air. If I'm brush painting the model colour, this is what I use. It's a resin based thinner, so although it thins the paint, it doesn't dilute it. So that's why I use it on the model colour. Excellent stuff. I've got several bottles there. The bottle lasts an absolute age because you only put a drop or two in at a time. Again, it's in a nice dropper bottle, nice and easy to use. You can control how much paint goes in there. So nice and to use, gets used all the time by me. I mentioned before Flow Aid with the extra acrylics, Hannon's extra acrylics. We'll come to it in a minute, but I thinner of X28. a couple of drops of that in a colour cup. Breaks down all the surface tension, makes them spray a lot smoother. Like I say, people have trouble with the extra acrylics. I haven't had trouble yet, touch wood. I know it doesn't react well to heat. People have had it coming off, pooling. I haven't had one problem with it yet and can't recommend it enough. That's why I use it. It's Winsor & Newton, comes in a big 250ml bottle from Hobbycraft, etc. That's been full for 2 years now. You can see I've used not even 5ml of it, so that's going to last an absolute age. Superb stuff. I only use it on the extra acrylics, don't use anything else at all. Got Mr. Hobby, Mr. Colour Leveling Thinner. I believe this is great for getting a nice smooth finish through the Mr. Hobby paint. Haven't used it yet because funny enough I was chatting to Lee on FaceTime the other day and we were saying how long it takes to dry. It takes an age. Not a problem, it's something I'm going to be working on soon. But for me, I'm a quick builder, as you'll notice. I don't like to have stuff hanging around, but haven't used it, but I ever want to. Again, glass bottle, can't stand it. Drop that, smashes everywhere, at least plastic absorbs impact. Mr. Colour Thinner, basically the non-leveling version of that. Cellulose based, well I think it's cellulose based, you wouldn't know because some of the instructions are a bit vague. It says organic solvent, what that means I don't know. A lot of trouble with some of these Japanese companies getting their products in the UK because all the warnings are in Japanese, just a little bit there in English. To me it smells just like the Mr. Hobby surfacer and putties, dissolved putties, and I believe they're cellulose based. It stinks to high heaven, really affects my lungs. I haven't got the booth on, so the paint may well be saying the water based, that isn't, so something to bear in mind. Extra acrylics thinners, water based for the modelling paint. Again, this stuff stinks to high heaven. I've tried it, as you can see, but for me it thins better with X28. I'll have to give it a go again. Like I say, when we give it a test, I'll run through all the different paints with their appropriate thinners and then the thinners I prefer. But for me, all the extra acrylics thin better with good old X28. Isopropanol alcohol, I believe this is, with a bit of retarder in it to delay drying time of the paint. Probably the thinner I use the most. I use it for Vallejo, Tamiya, the extra acrylics. That's it really. But you go to thinner for me. It's about a £5 a bottle. Lasts a long time. And again, if you want, you can make your own mix of airbrush cleaner, which I'll get to in a second, to help clean your airbrush, or you can put it in neat. Expensive way of doing it, but you know, if you've got a stub and stain your airbrush, that'll get it out. Cellulose thinners. As I explained before, some of the price of these is absolutely ridiculous. Alclad do their own airbrush cleaner. It's a bottle, I think it's 200ml, same size as the bottles, which is not on the bottle, which is good. Oh, there we go, 120ml. So they do 120ml a cellulose thinner. I don't care what he says, that's what it is, for a £5. Halfords do this one, which is 500ml for £8, or like I did, I went on eBay and I got 5 litres of the exact same stuff for £12 delivered. I just keep the big bottle in the shed outside, decant into this, and decant into an empty Vallejo airbrush cleaner bottle as and when needed. That will shift absolutely everything out your airbrush. Tamiya, it's great for cleaning, Mr. Hobbies, etc. Keep it away from extra acrylics and any of the Vallejo paints because it makes them turn into an absolute sticky, gloopy mess. Hence the reason I've got 4 airbrushes. Yes, I know, a bit over the top. I've got one for clear coats, one for Alclads, one for Mr. Hobby and Tamiya, and one for extra acrylics and Model Air, because they cannot stand the cellulose, and I'm fed up of taking airbrush to bit and cleaning them. But that's the way to do it. I just keep it in there. But you know, you can get that bottle. It doesn't last that long. You do go through more than you think cleaning your airbrush. So it's worth getting that bigger bottle. There's a couple of your friends together, you know, you're near each other, what have you, go halves. It's a cheaper way of doing it, much cheaper. So there's all the various different thinners. Like I say, keep any cellulose thinners or paints well away from Vallejo Model Colour and extra acrylics. They do not like it. They just go to a gloopy, shocking mess. Stay clear of those and you'll be fine. Okay, last but not least, airbrush cleaners. Start off with just seeing cellulose thinner, as I explained, clears everything out your colour cup, especially Tamiya, Mr. Hobby, Alclad. Keep it open, the Vallejos, you're fine. Superb stuff, highly lethal, stinks to high heaven, so make sure you're in a well ventilated room when you're using it. Do not let that touch any plastic because it'll melt the plastic. So don't be wiping your aircraft down with it before spraying or trying to get paint off with it, because it'll just absolutely destroy your model. Next one is Vallejo's airbrush cleaner. Like I say, I use that for Tamiya, Mr. Hobby, Alclads. This I use on the Vallejos, be it the model colour model there. Superb stuff, smells a bit milky, like off milk. Works very well though, you don't use a massive amount of it. Very good stuff, safe to use. 200ml bottle, I think it's about £5. So again, any of the acrylics like cellulose, use that. This is in a media airbrush cleaner bottle. It's not that. That is actually car windscreen screen wash fluid. The concentrated type, not pre-mixed. A little tip somebody told me a while ago. This will clean probably 80% of my airbrush using acrylics, be it Tamiya, Mr. Hobbies, Vallejos, anything. I can use it with all of them, it doesn't react whatsoever, and I'll get 80% of the crap out of my airbrush. Cheap as chips, I think it's £2.50 for a litre. Lasts an absolute age, and like I say, I use that to get the majority out, get the airbrush a rinse. I'll do a guide on cleaning airbrushes at some point. Anything stubborn left, depending on the paint, I use cellulose, Vallejo, or a bit of Tamiya X20A in there to get the majority of it out. And again, leave a little bit sat in your airbrush, ready to go. Spray it off that next time, and away you go. But that's a very, very cheap way of cleaning your airbrush. Absolutely superb. Works with them all. And like I say, it gets about 80% of all the paint out your airbrush. So very handy, very cheap. But okay, so there's part 2 of our paint guide done. With part 2 and part 1 we did last time, I give a basic overview of all the paints I tend to use, probably the most popular paints out there. At a later date I'll give a guide on using them, the techniques I use, the way I go about spraying things, and obviously I already give the reasons why I use them. So hope you like what you've seen. If you've got any comments, please comment on the video. Also check out our forum, International Scale Modeler, at www.intscalemodeler.com. Set up by myself in late, fledgling forum, just started up, but certainly check it out, join up. If you've got a YouTube channel, we can give you your own section which you can update as and when you go, or if you're just a normal modeler, just like to browse, get hints and tips, again join up. Or if you're a full-blown modeler like me, you like to do videos, step-by-step guides, photo builds, the complete start up to finish of your model, certainly join up, give us a shout. It's a friendly forum, that's what we're aiming for. It's a free forum as well, there's no fees, so certainly pop in, give us a shout, and if you have any questions please comment on the video. So thanks for watching, I'll catch you next time. It's Paul from International Scale Modeler, take care, thanks for watching.